Is there anything you would like to share with the audience that resonates with you today? You feel like sharing?
Yeah, okay. There was one thing that was coming to me earlier, and it might be beneficial for some people that are watching this. When we have this idea of ascension and awakening, in order to understand this, it's important to understand it through the number 3, the Trinity. So a lot of people, we go through 3 primary phases. And every time that these 3 phases complete themselves on one stage of the journey, you move into the next stage of the journey. And those 3 primary stages are, if you can think about it as a triangle, you have getting lost in form, you have waking up from form, and when I say form, I mean the illusion of the physical reality in your identification with yourself as a body and a mind. So you have getting lost in form, becoming non-attached to form or waking up from form, and then you have the integration of form and non-form, or the physical and the spiritual. So if you look at your life, you might start to notice that in every cycle of your life, you go through this trinity. So when you first start to wake up, when you're not awakened, you're identified with form. You're lost in it. You don't know yourself beyond it. When you start to wake up out of your ego, then you kind of want nothing to do with the world, right? But then you find this integrative point of balance where you actually come back to the world. You come back into your body, and you have this balance point of being in the world but not being of the world. And so always the message is just that this cycle, this trinity, happens at every level of consciousness. When you've integrated this idea at one point of the journey, you move into the next ring on the spiral, so to speak. And when you start to see this within yourself, then you can have a much deeper understanding of what awakening is. And then you can start to realize that there's going to be a time where you get lost in form. There's going to be a time where you get absorbed in your project. There's going to be a time where you get absorbed in your self-identity. There's going to be then a time where you want nothing to do with that identity, and then there's going to be a time where you integrate both of those. And then boom, you're on to the next level. Yeah, so as I was saying, you move to the next level once you've integrated this trinity. And then what happens? You go and explore this new version of your identity. And you might get lost in that. You might get lost in your projects or with your relationships. And then you wake up from that, and then you integrate that, and then so on and so forth. So the point of this message is that a lot of people, when we think about spirituality and we think about our approach to spirituality, we want to remain unattached from the world. But in my experience, it's more beneficial to allow yourself to really commit to what's happening in the world of form. So that by virtue of you fully committing, life will then find a way, for the sake of love, to kind of slap your hand away from whatever you're grabbing at, so that you can then be relinquished of that identification, and you can find a point of balance. So that's just the message, is that we need to not be afraid of really getting into life on a physical level. You know, a lot of people that are first waking up out of ego, they're like, I want nothing to do with the world. And I go, okay, that's fine for now, but you'll come back. And the point of completing that cycle is to come back. It's like the second coming of Christ, right? Like, he dies, that whole story, and then he comes back. It's the resurrection. So a lot of people right now that I seem to be, that seem to come to me in the sessions and message me from watching my YouTube videos and stuff, it's like a lot of people are at that phase where they just woke up out of that unconscious state of reality, and they want nothing to do with it, and they have no sort of sense of direction and what is going on and all this stuff. What's going on is that we're finding out how to integrate the world, the material world and the spiritual world. So allow that process to occur, and it's a beautiful part of ascension. That's the message.
Do you want to add to that?
Yeah, I could add to that. Just to simplify it a little bit more. So it's the idea that, like, so just leading to, like, thinking of like Buddhist philosophy and stuff like that, is like, okay, like non-attachment. Don't be attached to things, or like. I can add to what he was saying, and it's basically the idea of like being unattached and not having necessarily any expectations from your life and your reality, but still being fully engaged and passionate and motivated about just existing, and the idea that you exist and that you can do things and you could create things.
It's fun.
Or you could hang out with other people and just experience being a human, and still being fully passionate, engaged with that idea of experiencing being a human, but still being unattached in the sense that you can't be destroyed by anything that's like a cause of your life and humanity. Like, oh, this happened, that was really bad, and da 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 da, and now I'm depressed and traumatized. But it's like that idea of, okay, you could be non-attached in that sense, but it doesn't stop you from being fully engaged. And I think that's something that's really important. That's going based off of what he was saying. Yeah.
I love that message. I feel like for a lot of spiritual people, it's very difficult to integrate with.
Yeah,
the
it is.
world.
It is. It is. And actually, just to add to that, people want to know how to actually integrate into that. And in my experience, the most direct way is to begin to uncover what your heart really wants, what you're really passionate about, even though begin to really discover and to decipher what you're passionate about in your life, and by virtue of that discovery, really commit to that and make that your purpose. Even if the purpose changes, having purpose and seeing the bigger picture that we're here to really transform this planet in whatever way is unique to us, that thing helps you almost instantaneously come back into the physical realm, because you're driven by transforming the physical realm. And we all do that in a different way, and ultimately we need to do that in a way that's most resonant to our unique self and to our creativity. So whenever that process is occurring, you don't really know what to do about that. Really begin to do your best to discern what it is you actually want in your life, and really devote yourself to that thing, with fully acknowledging the fact that that thing might change. And it's all good if it does change, but for the time being, really go into that. A lot of people are in limbo. And limbo is a great place to be, but you don't want to be in limbo forever. You want to really start distributing energy to these different parts of your life, and so that you can move to the next part of your journey. Is there anything you want to add to that? Okay. Yeah, that's it.
I think that's a very beautiful message to end this video
Cool.
on. And I deeply appreciate you both coming here. It was so informative.
Awesome.
I deeply appreciate it.
We deeply appreciate you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah,
Thank
it's
you.
been awesome. Thank you.